abundance, finances, shared purpose and goals, as well as our careers. Watch this video. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Serena.
And I'm James.
And we are Life After Union, two twin flames in union. We make these weekly videos to help you navigate your spiritual awakening and your twin flame journey. If you're looking for any more links or help on your journey or your path thus far, you can always check the links down below. We are taking waitlists now for our second round of twin flame group coaching. So if you would like to be involved in another totally aligned group of twin flames joining paths together to create this new earth and awaken together, you can join down below. And without further ado, let's get into this video.
Woohoo!
So today, this is a really cool topic, I think, because, I definitely had some reservations and some concerns about this topic, like just based on what is it supposed to look like. And so I think a lot of people wonder, like after union, what is that going to look like? Are we going to be doing the same career? Are we going to, how are we going to be working in this like new earth realm? What is all of that going to look like? So the question that we got specifically was talking about, careers, new careers, because generally when twin flames are, coming out of the matrix and coming into union, they're exiting their like 3D careers, and they're maybe starting something totally new, or they're maybe using a skill that they learned in the 3D to bring into their new like 5D career situation. So we're going to be talking about careers, finances, abundance, and shared goals or shared purpose as twin flames, which also I think can be very controversial. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of skepticism and like just like misinformation around a shared purpose. And I actually want to start talking about that.
Continue talking about that.
Yeah, continue talking about that. Even though it's the last thing that we mentioned, I think it's the first thing to talk about, because I think the misconception mostly is that if you're a twin flame, you're going to come together in union and you're either going to, do the same thing as your twin, like your shared purpose is like, a lot of people think that has to do with your career. Where I think really the shared purpose of twin flames is to grow and learn together. And that may take many, many, many forms, So like for us, I think one of our shared purposes is Claire. And raising Claire. And being parents is one of our shared purposes. And it's something that we don't always agree on 110%. But it's like one of those things that we both truly desired to experience like in this lifetime, and it's something that we both work towards together as a goal.
We strive to better it continuously.
And to heal ourselves through our relationship with her, and to heal each other through our relationship doing it together, like all of that kind of stuff.
And making sure we don't pass on our things to her at the same time as well.
Right, yeah, ending those generational cycles. And then so another one of our shared purposes, so you and I are both, I like to call it like Renaissance people, where we do a little bit of everything. And you've had
jack of all trades.
Yeah, you've had jobs in a little bit of everything. You've done a lot of jobs. So I think we're both people in terms of shared purpose, and I even like a week ago, we've talked about this, where I've struggled with what my purpose is, and am I meant to be doing just one thing, or am I meant to be doing a little bit of everything? And we always are coming back to this topic, and as you guys know, as we just talked about in the beginning of the video, is we're doing a group coaching together, and we've been making these videos together. So this is also one of our shared purposes. But you have another career outside of twin flames.
I do. I do building, carpentry, alterations, plumbing, that whole side of things. For me, the way I've always seen it is our shared goals are what we want life to look like, not necessarily just focusing on our career paths, because there's two major differences there. So together we want to create a strong family that supports each other, loves each other, is always there for each other, creates a nice, happy, strong, healthy, loving household, which is huge for us. But that doesn't mean that now you do a lot of the online stuff when I go out and work with my hands in the corporation or the rest. That doesn't mean we haven't got the same goal, that just means they're different careers. I think that is sometimes, like you said earlier, where there's a bit of misconception.
Yeah.
Where people kind of get a little bit lost out there because they think like, oh, if we're not doing exactly the same thing every single day, work-wise, everything, then you're not really on that path. It's like, well, it's actually good sometimes as well to have a bit of diversity, because if you spend too much time with your partner, you might, get really annoyed with them and need a bit of a break. So having those differences is actually really beneficial. And I feel even people that work together all the time that are twin flames, that actually have their careers alongside each other, they will still have certain things that they'll do by themselves in order to bring themselves back into themselves. Like, something that brings them something that somebody else can't understand.
Yeah. And I mean, what's interesting is both of us have always really worked with our hands a lot. Like, if you guys didn't know, I used to be a hairstylist. I still do cut hair sometimes. But what's interesting is it was during COVID that I really made the shift to being more online and doing more of the coaching type stuff. And doing coaching was something I was also doing as a hairstylist, because, people always are telling you their entire life story. So, that was kind of like my prep work. And so if you're going through this stage right now and you're wondering, where do I go next? Think about what your prep work might have been. Like, you might have worked in tech, and maybe now you're going to be doing your own online spiritual business or like something like that. Or maybe you're an artist and you were creating, like art for other people, and now you're going to move into creating art for yourself, or like different frequency paintings or like things like that, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to take a whole 180 and go into a completely different field. It might just be a deepening or an expansion of something you were already interested in. So myself, for example, and us, we've both always been in, very hands-on type careers, and that's always been very important to us. But even as a girl, I liked to make and edit videos. Like, my friends and I would do either photo shoots or we would do like music videos, and I always enjoyed that, even though like these videos, like they're shot on my phone and they're not like by any means like a cinematic masterpiece.
Yes, they are.
But there's still something I like to do, and I like to share like the culmination of all of it, right? I like to network with people. I like to share my information. I like to sit and have quiet moments where I'm editing videos. So for me, it's like a culmination of everything I like to do. And then also, like, your career, as a carpenter or as like a handyman, has helped us hugely in this house. Like, you're literally doing a project today where you're spackling the walls, and you're always learning something new. And all of those skills that you have learned over the years has now like really come to a culmination within this house, and like has helped us be able to do the things we're able to do. Whereas like my career, right, like when I was doing hair, like, now you can have free haircuts, so like, and then, they all kind of play into each other. So I don't want the misconception to be that you're going to completely drop your old life and step into a whole new one, where in some elements that is completely true. But in some elements, it's just a reworking of what you did before.
Yeah, it's a reordering of things. I mean, if I think of all the jobs I've done throughout my long life, I've learned a lot of very small like ways of doing things here and ways of doing things there, and how to think about doing something in this and then using that to do something else here. And the way that I've always said it is that I never knew what I wanted to study. So I went to the University of Life, where by doing that, the way that I see it is I've gone out and learned a whole bunch of different skills, some that are completely useless and some that are very, very useful. But now with all of that knowledge I've gained over the years, I'm able to put that now into my life where I am now, whether it be doing some carpentry around the house or plumbing or painting or helping you with some of your stuff as well. And everything kind of falls back into itself. So just because you might feel like you're leaving this part of your journey to go do this doesn't mean that you're leaving that behind, because parts of that, without even realizing, sometimes actually help you benefit from this, even if it's complete polar opposites.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like, so long term wise, again, gathering all of these skills. So something that you and I talked about in the very beginning of meeting was like, what do we want our goals to look like, you know, and like what do we want our lives to look like. And so we've talked a lot about kind of running some sort of event or retreat center,
Yeah.
or something like that. You know, James does, as you guys already know probably, James does a lot of surfing, likes to spend time on the beach. We both like to make these videos to talk to people, help people. You know, there's so much beautiful, inspiring nature around us, that we've actually worked a few programs into the nature, even through your mom's event company. So that is something that, like, long term wise, like, I could really see us having our own property and living very sustainably, very minimalistically, you know, bringing people into that way of life, foraging, you know, workshops, creating tinctures, you know, herbalism, meditation, surfing, holistic lifestyle, like all of that kind of stuff. And again, that's kind of where we come together in a shared purpose. It's like the big picture is our shared purpose. It's not just this one little thing or this one little thing. It's like all of that culmination of the things that we love to do comes together. So stay tuned, because maybe we'll have twin flame retreats here in South Africa one day. That would be pretty cool.
That'd be very exciting.
To have anybody that's been in like our programs before, or like our courses, and then everyone comes and joins once a year in South Africa, and we explore the nature, and we just have amazing, you know, ceremonies and meditations and surf lessons. And
let us know what you think about that idea.
Yeah, I think it would be super cool if you're interested in coming to South Africa. Let us know in the comments. But moving on from there, let's talk a little bit about abundance, because this has been a really interesting one for us, especially over the last year.
Yeah.
So my theory on this, and you know, I always have a theory. My theory on this is, right, twin flames come onto this earth to break different either generational traumas, societal conditionings, you know, 3D matrix type stuff. So what I find really interesting about abundance is that even collectively, I've heard from a lot of different energy readers, is that we're in a time where we're actually rewriting the codes around abundance and around, like, specifically financial abundance. And so we are actually becoming that within first, rather than placing that focus without. So we have actually struggled in the area of abundance really significantly, because we have chosen to follow, I would say, our hearts and our passions. And with that comes a lot of limiting beliefs. It comes with a lot of, can we even do this? Are we worthy of it? Can we create and have financial stability on the life that we want to live? You know, how do we combine our minimalistic, like, desires to live in tune with nature, but also the luxury of being comfortable and feel provided for? So this is something we are actually currently still working through. And I feel like we have turned a corner on this, like, very significantly. And this is probably also to do with us working together on this course. But what do you think about kind of inviting in and the idea of abundance when it comes to, like, twin flames and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, obviously I can only speak from personal experience, and at times it has been difficult, because I feel that sometimes, I mean, take for instance the two of us, we come from very, very different walks of life from the way we grew up. I mean, you grew up in America, just outside of Chicago, where you had a lot of opportunity to go do a lot of things, and a lot of things were easy for you to obtain, where for me out here, not that I'm in the middle of the bush living in a dung hut or anything like that, but the way of life and the culture and everything's very different. So even if we think of, like, wanting to live comfortably, for me and you, that also looks very different. And we've obviously clashed a few times there, because I don't know, it could just be that I'm male as well, but I mean, for me, I don't need as much around me to make me comfortable. I don't need any, like, fancy couches or pretty things on the wall, or, you know, as long as it's sustainable and it's something that I can use and
practical.
Yeah, it's practical to me and what I need, and it's not, if I need something, you know, I'll make a plan and I'll get it, and then we have it. So there's a lot of differences in that, I find, and I feel that potentially that's something that a lot of twin flames experience, especially if you get twin flames that are coming from different countries. because there is a lot of different cultural things that come about. Um, yeah, it's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, and a lot of, I would say, generational. So your family generationally when it comes to financial abundance. And just that feeling of like limitation and lack, like that's very strong in your family line. So I feel like
In some sides of it.
both you and your brother have done a lot to
Yeah.
try and transcend that and to try and like make the lives that you guys want to live. Um, but I also think in terms of, financial stability and things like that, this is a really interesting crux because we don't want to be limited by the 3D matrix, right? But we also need to learn to operate within it because once you understand, so there's this element of the twin flame dynamic where you're in the 3D matrix, you kind of transcend that into the 5D and then you come back into the 3D to integrate, right? And this is how it is every lesson that you go through, right? You have a 3D wound, transcend it, let go of it, and then you integrate, right? And this is the cycle of healing. So this is the same thing when it comes to your financial stability. This is the same thing when it comes to your career, abundance, all of that kind of stuff, is that you really actually need to still function within the 3D world. So you have to understand on a practical level what makes you feel stable and comfortable. If feeling stable and comfortable to you means you invest in the stock market, then you should do that. Even if you feel like, oh, that's so 3D and, the financial institutions are going to go down and, gold standard's going to come back. And, even if all of that is true, if this thing still makes you feel secure and like you've got your life together, then you should do that, right? Same thing with retirement, right? There's a lot of people that are like, oh, should I invest in my retirement? Should I not? If the financial thing is going to collapse and we're all going to be trading and bartering. But if that's what makes you feel secure and like you're moving forward in your life right now, then that's what you should be doing, right? So we have a 3D world so that we can create things for ourselves. And you really have to look deep within your own mind and your own belief systems to understand what's going to make you feel comfortable. Just as you said, there's certain things that don't really affect you when it comes to finances, right? Like you don't need the same things that I need, right? And so the important part about being empowered when it comes to finances and financial abundance is understanding what it is that you need to feel secure, right? Do you just need to have all your bills paid and zero money left over for savings and you feel good? Great. If you know you want a savings pocket real big, real fancy, if you need to be buying cars or you want to have expensive artwork, or if you're someone that wants to wear all organic cotton and linen, then you need to be able to provide that for yourself and feel good about what you're purchasing, right? So this is all about living in alignment with your true desires and your true values. And every twin flame and every person needs to figure out what that is for themselves, right? And not necessarily it's going to be the same for both twins. There's going to be alignment there, but it doesn't have to be exactly the same. Do you think there's anything else that we need to be touching on?
I mean, ultimately, the way that I've always seen it is if you believe for yourself that you need something, whether it be an item, piece of clothing, food, you want to be with a certain person, if that's the way that you truly feel, then you should go for it. Obviously, in certain aspects, like with a person, you've got a second opinion you got to deal with as well. You can't just be like, you're mine and that's it. It's like, you actually, it has to be reciprocated. But nothing ever stops you from trying to achieve what you want to achieve. And if there's someone that you like, or there's a pretty dress, or there's a brand new surfboard, or you want to buy some drywall for the inside of your house, it's up to you if that's what you want to make it happen. And no one can make it happen for you other than yourself. Because even if somebody, if I'm sitting here and be like, oh, I wish I could get 10 drywall boards, but I don't have the money right now, but then someone buys me 10 drywall boards, that in itself is me drawing it in. Even though it might not be in the way that I personally would have wanted to acquire it, it is still me putting something out there that's drawing something back towards me. And I think we just got to be practical minded sometimes about that, to say, this is what I want to get. However it comes to me isn't the most important part, but I want to be able to get it to that point where I feel good about it. And if you don't feel good about receiving something from someone because you want to get it for yourself, then that's the way you need to go about it. But the only person that's going to know a lot of these things is yourself. So ultimately, if you listen to yourself, you can't really go wrong.
Yeah.
You'll still make mistakes, but ultimately you're always going to end up in the position or the place that you're always going to end up in.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And yeah, I think if you're a twin flame and you're navigating this journey and you're navigating the path of abundance and shared goals and shared purpose and things like that, it's really important also to have clear communication. That's one of the things that I think you and I talked about in the very beginning of our relationship, was what we wanted our lives to look like.
Yeah.
And how we wanted that to function. Now, keep in mind, we've been together 3 years, and like in my mind, we're still pretty far from our ultimate goal.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, if we want to run a retreat center, we're pretty far from that. But you also have to understand that these things can take time, right? Like, just because you're with your twin flame doesn't mean things are going to instantly manifest for you. You know, there's still that fulfillment of putting the hard work in, taking things step by step, actually living your life, right? Like, not just pushing so hard for your goals that you omit everything else. It's actually about more balance and like enjoying the process and enjoying the journey of getting there. So I think that's something that's really important, and that you have to have that in alignment with your twin flame. You have to talk about that, right? So the interesting part is, if you're in separation or you're in like a no contact and you can't talk with your twin flame about what your dreams and goals are, what you need to do is just get really in alignment with yourself and your own dreams and goals. And as you said, that makes you become more magnetic, and then you start drawing certain things in, you start drawing certain opportunities, you start drawing certain actions, and then you start moving towards your goals. And I think a lot of people will stop acting on their goals or stop moving towards their goals for fear of losing somebody, right? Like, they're afraid, like, oh, if I go in this direction, am I going to maybe lose this person? And I think the thing you have to keep in mind is, if you go in the direction of your soul and your path and you lose a person, then they weren't aligned with your soul to begin with, right? So you have to still go towards your goals and your path and your journey, and trust that if that person is meant to come with you, that they will, or that their journey will then cross your journey at a certain point. So never wait for your twin flame in order to start moving on your path, right? Like, I started these YouTube videos when we were in separation. And I didn't know that this is what was going to come of them. You know, like we had no idea that this was what was going to come of all of this. So just let that be a notion that start taking the action. Start moving on your dreams and your desires and your abundance and your financial security and your career and your purpose, and figure out and get really clear about what you want that to look like, and then start taking the action. Like, you don't wait to be in union to start your life, because, you know, it'll never come that way. You have to start your life and then union comes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to put it down below. And if you're looking for more support, you can check the links in the description. Thank you so much for being here today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Hit the little notification bell so you're notified every time we come out with a new video. And we'll see you in the next one. Big love.
Bye.
Bye.